You're an ESL teacher. You have been teaching for maybe a year, 2 years, or even like me, 10 years. And all of a sudden, you feel like quitting. Why is that? Should you quit or should you continue on this journey? Stay tuned. Hey everyone, it's Dara. So I wanted to talk to you about something a lot of us have felt at least one time in our ESL career, is quitting. This could be both a good thing or a bad thing. Sometimes ESL teachers find themselves in transition, meaning that maybe they're leaving an agency, whether they're choosing to leave or they're being laid off, or they have to quit maybe for personal reasons, or maybe they were fired. Sometimes when you're in this transitional period, you start to question whether or not you should continue on this journey of teaching or you should stop and do something else. This is a very difficult decision to make. I've been there before and it's not easy. So one of the things I'm going to talk about today is for those ESL teachers out there who have passion for teaching ESL, what do you do when you find yourself in transition? Should you quit? Should you stay? What should you do? Now, most of you know by now that I have been teaching ESL for over 10 years. I started in the AmeriCorps program and then I went into the actual professional world where I taught for a nonprofit agency. I worked at some language schools. The only thing that I haven't done is go abroad and teach, which is something I'm hoping to do very soon. Fingers crossed. However, I am also in a transitional period because I am very passionate about teaching ESL. I love what I do. However, the jobs are just not happening, and that usually is the case. Sometimes it's hard getting back into your career or a career that you love. It's very difficult. The other thing that can be very difficult is the fact that you ask yourself, should I even continue this? Now, we can get into the details of the ESL market and the money and the politics and the bureaucracies and all that. But you know, this will turn out to be a 5-hour video and I'm not going to do that. So for the sake of this video, I'm just going to speak in very general terms. But again, there are many factors to why teachers find themselves in a transitional period. I've been teaching for over 10 years. I was laid off, unfortunately, and so I've been trying my best to get back into the field. I went on several interviews. I even went on an interview today, and I'm still finding myself trying to figure things out. Now, if you're in that position, here are some things that you can do to kind of encourage you to continue on this journey. And one of those things is remembering your passion. Now, passion can be debatable when it comes to this, because I've had people even debate me and say, well, how do you know if you're passionate about what you do? And I always like to say, you know that you're passionate about something when you wake up in the morning and that's the first thing you think about. So sleepy. You know you're passionate when, even when you go into the most difficult times of your life, you still think about doing that, whatever it is that you want to do. You're passionate when you're in a classroom where students may not be cooperative. They might be giving you all sorts of trouble. Administration could be giving you a headache, and you still come to work with a smile on your face. You still work hard. You still try your best. Passion is when you find yourself in the transitional period where you're not teaching and you miss it terribly. And even when you try to explain to your friends or family, they're looking at you scratching their head like, okay, so you're not working ESL, get a regular job and get over it. But you can't get over it because you still want to do what you love. So you continue pursuing your career. For a lot of us, myself included, you're passionate, you know you're passionate when you find yourself wanting to go back to school and learn more in depth about your profession. So passion can come in many forms in different ways, and I think that's something as teachers we have to remember. We have to remember the why. It's not so much what we're doing and the how we're doing it, it's the why. The purpose is very important because that's what's going to determine whether or not you want to continue on this journey or not. Now, some of you out there watching this might not be familiar with the ESL world, so I'm just going to briefly give you some idea of how this works. ESL, as we know, stands for English as a Second Language. However, in some places, when you say you are a teacher working in ESL, they don't call it ESL, they'll call it ELL, which stands for English Language Learners or English Language Learning. Sometimes they'll even go as far as saying you're a TESOL teacher or a TEFL teacher, and again, the acronyms are very long. So some of you may be wondering, what is the difference between TESOL and TEFL? So let me just explain that to you and make this as simple and painless as possible. TESOL stands for Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages. TEFL stands for Teaching English as a Foreign Language. So you might be wondering, what's the difference? In many countries, English is not the primary or the main language spoken, so it will be considered English as a foreign language. However, if you go to certain parts of Europe, you will be considered TESOL, because although English may not be the main language, but it's taught in the home country. So that's where it gets a little different. But for the most part, whichever certification you have, it will be just fine. And most employers just want to make sure that you have some background in teaching methodology or some type of training in how to engage students in English language learning. So that's why having certification is very important. And not to go too far into this, but if you're interested in learning more, please feel free to leave a comment in the sections below. I would be more than happy to share with you how to go about that. But one of the things to keep in mind when it comes to certification is there are different ways, there are different types, and you know, I think the best advice I can give to you is when you get your certification, you want to try your best to have some type of college degree that goes along with it. There are countries that don't mind if you don't have a college degree, but if you just want to be more marketable, I would encourage you to have a college degree. It doesn't necessarily have to be in English, but some type of college study really does help. So that's kind of like the overview of how this works. So you're finding yourself in a situation where you have certification, you have your degrees, you taught maybe for 1 or 2 years or more, you're not working, you live here in the United States, you're looking for jobs, things are just not happening for you, and you're like, okay, what should I do? You know, and a lot of places there's something called budget cuts, okay? So, you know, a lot of times ESL programs really heavily rely on the budget of that state or that city that they're operating from. And if it's not a language school that's private, and let's say it's a nonprofit, this can be a big deal, and this will definitely affect you as a teacher. So that's another reason why the market could be very fluctuating. And then there's something called money. Let me just say as a disclaimer right now, I am one of the most unique and maybe weird people out there who don't care about money like that. And I know you're probably saying to yourself, yeah, right, she's just kidding. No, I really am like that. I don't care about payment so much, you know, because for me, my passion drives me to teach. But again, I understand we're adults, we have to live, we got to eat. I understand. So this is where things get a little funny. The money sometimes may not be the best. If you live in New York City, you know what I'm talking about. You know, places like my city and others where the rents are very expensive, everything is pretty much expensive, and you're working for an ESL program, say at a language school or maybe at a nonprofit, and the money is just not. That can play a major role as to why you may decide, maybe I should leave this alone. A lot of teachers leave the profession not because they want to, because financially they have to. You're in this period where you're thinking, okay, should I stay or should I go? Let me start with those who want to leave, and then I'll go to the ones who want to stay. If you're in a position now where you're saying to yourself, okay, I've done this for a amount of years, but I need to move forward, then here's my advice to you. Continue to be a teacher. Teaching doesn't mean you have to necessarily be in a classroom and teach 25 students. Teaching is life when you think about it. We are all learners in this journey called life. You can always teach people, regardless, whether you're doing private tutoring, whether you're doing it online, whether you're volunteering. So you don't have to necessarily stop teaching, but you may not do it as a career, and that's perfectly fine. If you still have passion for ESL teaching, I would encourage you to continue at it. Just do it a different way. Do it in a way that suits you, that makes you comfortable. If you are a person like me who's passionate and just cannot let it go and can be a little obsessive about that, then my advice to you is to keep trying. Now, I understand that it is difficult out there, and yes, you will get disappointed. The money is not going to be the best. Most of the positions are part-time. You might be saying to yourself, why should I do this? Because why should I do this? But if you really love what you do, you got to keep at it. And you can always substitute. So if you're working part-time in the morning at a school, but by afternoon, evening, you might be doing something else, okay. It may be a little more work. It may be a little more stressful depending on how you go about it, but you will feel a sense of satisfaction knowing that you're still doing what you love. And I guess that's the general point of what I'm trying to say, is that you want to do what's best for you always. But if ESL teaching is something that you just can't get it out your system, you just think about it, you eat it, you breathe it, it's just all in your aura, keep at it. Don't give up. Don't quit. You will have people who will tell you to quit. I've had people tell me to quit many times. They tell me I'm crazy because at this age of 36 and I'm still trying to land that ESL job, and people are like, are you serious? Like, are you serious? And then now that I'm here on YouTube and I'm doing these videos about motivation for ESL teachers and students, it's like, okay, but why? Why aren't you working that full-time 9 to 5 and making that money? Why? Because I have applied to those type of jobs and I haven't heard back yet. You have to go about it the way you go about it. Be creative. You're going to have to be a little creative, yes, because that's just the way it is. You're going to have naysayers along the way, but as long as you're happy doing what you do, that's all that matters. And for me, I am never going to give up. I love ESL teaching too much to give it up. So whether it's going to be here on YouTube, it's going to be in a classroom, or one-to-one private tutoring, it doesn't matter. I will always be TeacherDara. I am proud to be TeacherDara. And that's just the way it's going to be, my friends. I'm not going anywhere. Thank you so much for watching today. I really hope this has given you some insight as to why ESL teachers who are passionate about this should not quit. If you have any questions or comments, please, please, please feel free to leave your comments down below. I have my email in the description box, so you can email me privately if you like. I am on Instagram and Twitter, so say hello. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a wonderful day, friends. Keep smiling, keep striving, and keep teaching. Trust me, you are making a difference, even